This is the 2014 Spring Severe Weather Awareness Campaign hosted by Jacob Terrell, my wonderful self. And you're going to have to kind of bear with me through this video as I am fighting a cold right now, so I'm coughing an awful lot. Um, Basically, the whole point of this campaign is to draw attention to severe weather, the effects that it has on the nation, and talk about severe weather safety, because severe weather season is upon us now. When we look at the potential for snow on Wednesday, it may not seem like it, but March can offer snow and severe weather, flooding, just about anything. March is a wild month, and the severe weather season um, officially begins, according to meteorologists and storm chasers, it officially begins March 1st and lasts all the way through late June. And there's another more secondary severe weather season which peaks up in October and November. And of course, it's important to remember that severe weather can happen all year round, regardless of what time of year it is. Even during the summer, we get occasional severe weather. Even during the winter time, we can get a little bit of severe weather, as we have seen before. So, in this video, I just want to go over a couple things. This is the webpage of the National Weather Service. Um, the National Weather Service has numerous local offices all across the country. Every single county or parish, as they are referred to in Louisiana, is covered by a National Weather Service office. Every single county in the country. And these Weather Service offices are staffed 24 hours, 365 days a year, and they are constantly monitoring current weather conditions and weather conditions that will be upcoming within the next several days in order to provide us with advanced and accurate forecasting so we can know what to expect ahead of time. Excuse me. This is the web page of the Storm Prediction Center. Storm Prediction Center is owned and operated by the National Weather Service, but in a way, it's kind of its own separate agency. It's located right here in Norman, Oklahoma, where you see the cursor. And what I mean by it's kind of its own separated own agency, even though it's ran by the National Weather Service, there's only one Storm Prediction Center. And their job is a little bit different. They are the ones who issue all of the tornado and severe thunderstorm watches. The reason being is sometimes severe weather can cover an entire region, sometimes multiple regions. And so you may need tornado and severe thunderstorm watches to cover all these regions in advance of the storms. And the flash flood watches, winter storm watches, all that other good stuff, and all of the warnings and advisories, those all come from the individual National Weather Service offices. It's just that the Storm Prediction Center that issues tornado and severe thunderstorm watches, because sometimes they need to cover multiple regions, and the Storm Prediction Center also issues what we refer to as convective outlooks. Man, excuse me. That would be the slight risk, the moderate risk, and the high risk that we see on TV and that you've heard me talk about before. Now, as you can see for today, there is no slight, moderate, or high risk. In fact, it says no organized severe weather is forecast for anywhere across the country today. But one thing I want you to understand about the slight, moderate, and high risk is that sometimes the terms can be deceiving. Sometimes the term slight risk can be deceiving. If you have, let's say, the lower Ohio Valley under a slight risk, that doesn't mean that there is only a slight chance that somewhere within the highlighted area there is going to be a severe storm. It doesn't necessarily work that way, because you have to break it down with mathematical probabilities. For instance, they might highlight, let's say, central Indiana with a 5% risk for tornadoes. And initially you would think, Wow, that's a pretty low chance. But the thing you have to keep in mind is that what they're talking about is a 5% chance of an isolated tornado within 25 miles of a given point inside the highlighted area. And so, granted, that's still relatively low, but it's a little more significant than what you think. And the higher the probabilities go, the higher, obviously, the chances of a tornado, according to the Storm Prediction Center. So, when you get to about a 15% tornado risk, then you have a moderate risk, because a 15% risk of tornadoes within a 25 miles of a given point, that's kind of kind of significant, mathematically speaking. And it works a little bit differently for damaging winds and large hail, but you get the idea. You have to look beyond the terms slight, moderate, and high, and look at the actual probabilities to understand how significant the risk is. I just want to see if we can find an example here. Let's do let's do May 1st, 2012. Okay. So this was May 1st, 2012. As you can see, let me go back up. As you can see, we have a slight risk that was issued on that day for much of Minnesota, northwestern Wisconsin, down into Iowa, and the portions of Nebraska, including Omaha, Nebraska. And then we look at the probabilities for tornadoes. Now we see a 5% probability of tornadoes. Again, that means 5% chance of a tornado within 25 miles of a given point within this highlighted brown area. And note, yeah, the slight risk area was a lot larger than that, obviously, but that was for damaging winds and large hail as well. So you can kind of see that also here in the lower Ohio Valley, we have a 2% risk of an isolated tornado on that day for, well, Indianapolis, central Indiana, much of eastern and east central Illinois. So in Indianapolis on that day, we would have had a 2% chance of seeing a tornado within 25 miles of Indianapolis. And that's pretty low still. That, in fact, 2% does not even qualify for a slight risk area. If it was just a 2% risk and there was no slight risk, all they would do is mention something in the text. Basically, it's just a low-end threat, not high enough to qualify for a slight risk. And so it's only a 2% risk of tornadoes on that day. It eventually did get upgraded. They update those day one outlooks about like 5 times a day. And eventually, I believe it was the next outlook, we did get upgraded to a slight risk. They raised the probabilities, and we did have a slight risk. Just another example, let's go to a different event. 2011 before 27. This would have been April 27, 2011, the historic severe weather outbreak that in recent years that devastated much of the Deep South. Click it. There we go. And as you can see, a totally different scenario. We have a large slight risk area from the southern portions of the New England states down through the Gulf Coast. And we have a moderate risk, and within that moderate risk, we have a high risk. And with the high risk, on that day, we had a 30% chance of tornadoes covering that high risk area. Let's say Birmingham, Alabama is right about there, something like that. Birmingham on that day, according to the Storm Prediction Center, had a 30% chance of seeing a tornado within 25 miles of Birmingham. And that's pretty significant. Certainly no guarantees that every single city in that 30% area is going to be hit by a tornado, but that is a pretty high threat when you look at it mathematically. So understand that these convective outlooks, you have to look beyond the terms slight, moderate, and high, and look at the probabilities to kind of get an understanding of how significant the threat is. And that's stuff that I look at, meteorologists will look at, storm chasers will look at, and I don't want to get into it too much. I'm just gonna let that phone ring. I don't want to stop this video, but okay. So basically, the convective outlooks is just based off of mathematical probabilities. And so you have to, like I said, have to look beyond the terms slight, moderate, and high. Stuff that me and my friends would look at, me and my storm chaser friends. And today's topic, by the way, is severe weather in general. Actually, let's go back to the Storm Prediction Center's page. Severe weather, as we know, can cause a lot of problems in the nation. Some years are quiet, some years are average, but still, all it takes is one tornado to ruin your life, if not end it. And so that's why severe weather preparedness is very important. And still recording here? Okay, sorry about that, a little technical error. As I was saying, severe weather causes a lot of problems for us each year, even though some years it's a little more quiet than others. 2013, this last year, was a relatively quiet year, despite some isolated but major events that we did have. So in March, typically we look for the greatest severe weather threat in March to be within the Gulf Coast states, and sometimes we can see severe weather in March up here in the Ohio Valley and areas even a little further north, as we all know. And basically through the months of April and May and into June, the threat gradually shifts more and more north. And then in our secondary severe weather season, the threat kind of gradually shifts. It kind of starts off further north and kind of shifts down towards the Gulf Coast states. It's basically just the opposite. Instead of going from winter to summer, we're going from summer to winter, and more storm systems are developing yet again. So that's just a little bit of climatology for you. Just real quickly, I want to talk about a couple different types of thunderstorms that we can get here in Indiana that can produce severe weather. What you see right here is a picture of a squall line. Squall lines are actually produce a majority of the severe weather that we have here in Indiana. They can produce some hail. Their biggest problem is damaging winds, which can be significant at times. And it's basically, like you see here in the picture, it can be a long line of thunderstorms kind of embedded together, and they can often move through pretty quickly, and again, they can produce a swath of damaging winds. And another reason you have to be careful is that sometimes these thunderstorms along the squall lines can also produce brief little rain-wrapped tornadoes. And even though they are generally brief and weak, the fact that they spin up so quickly can make it difficult to get warnings out on these things. And so that is why you need to take tornado warnings for squall lines very seriously, and always keep in mind that these tornadoes, even though they are brief and weak, can be small and they can spin up really quickly with little to no notice. And so, moving on real quickly, we're running out of time here, but this is another type of thunderstorm that we get. It's called a supercell, and a supercell is what produces they're basically the keen storms of severe weather. They produce large tornadoes, which can sometimes be strong, damaging winds, and large hail. Thanks for watching